Hey, someone needs to pull Dan Lanning off of Colorado. Okay. Ralphie did not deserve this. Your boy Dan Lanning is out here slashing up the Buffs. Here's what he had to say about his thoughts on Buffalo. On Colorado going to the Big 12. Here's what Dan had to say. He said, "I'm trying to remember what they won to affect this conference, and I don't remember. Do you remember them winning anything? I don't remember them winning anything." Bro, you got man, Dion's coming after you, man. I'm sure you're frightened. By the way, Colorado and Oregon will play. That's the first Pac-12 game of the season for Oregon. I don't know what it is for Oregon, but for Colorado. Look, there's a lot going on here. As of the time I'm writing this, Oregon could be gone to a different conference. The Pac-12 is meeting this morning. When I'm recording this, it's still pretty early Pacific time. But look, I got nothing against Dion. I think Dion's done a pretty good job of what he's supposed to do at Colorado, which is elevate its place in the college football atmosphere. And in a way, I wouldn't give Dion all the credit for this, but in a way, his move to Colorado helped the Buffs move to the Big 12, which right now is a more stable situation than the Pac-12. But Colorado, the long history on that is Colorado's never really been a fit in the Pac-12. I mean, if you fly to Denver, you know it's not on the West Coast. That's not all Deion Sanders, but you're feeling the reverberations of conference realignment right now, which is that Oregon feels like it is a national brand. I agree with them. They are, generally speaking, certainly top 20 national brand. I mean, Oregon's played for a national championship this century. They won the Pac-12 this century. They played in, and I'm assuming, won Rose Bowls this century, although I'm not sure they won a Rose Bowl. Did they beat Florida State in the Rose Bowl? I think they did. So they have won a Rose Bowl. So all the things that are sort of important to the Pac-12 and everything out there, Oregon's done that. Colorado hasn't mattered since I was 12. And, I think right now you're seeing the sensitivity of Oregon and Washington, UW. They don't know where their place is right now. Like, the Big Ten is not exactly clamoring to get them. That's why I think the Pac-12 is going to stick together, generally speaking. Now, I could be wrong about that part, but there's some math involved. The Big 12 would have to pull in Arizona, not just Arizona, but probably they would, if they only pull in Arizona, then there's just nothing really to discuss. The Pac-12 will still be alive and well. I think what people are forgetting here too is, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, is that the major conferences are going to get their conference champion in the college football playoff. The Pac-12 has not been in the playoff, I don't think, since 2016 when UW got smashed by Alabama and Atlanta. So, the Pac-12 has just straight up missed out for a long time. And, the Pac-12 may be like the ACC, sort of an easy way to get into the playoff as a champion. We've seen, last year the ACC champion did not get into the playoff. The year before that, the ACC champion did not get into the playoff. So it may make sense to stay in the Pac-12 for reasons that do not include money. Because any deal with the Pac-12 right now is going to be a short-term deal. Hey, listen, make sure you're taking advantage of this short-term deal. If you want to subscribe to Dog Post, we wish you would. You're going to get our 2023 preview included free. That's the cost of a subscription. We're giving you that free. Our friends at Red Zone are giving you 20% off any item on their store. You got 30 days from the time that you subscribe to use the special code that's for you at Red Zone. They're also going to give you a t-shirt. All these things are going to be mailed to you as soon as you execute your order at Red Zone. If you have ordered Double Dogs, I'm giving you a month for free after you sign up with the link down below to Dog Post. So you can get this shirt at Red Zone, or sweatshirt, excuse me. I think this sweatshirt's $50 maybe. So what is 20% of $50? Did you go to school in DeKalb County? That's 10. So we're giving you some serious value here. Particularly if you've already bought bought a book or magazine here in the last year. So take advantage of that. The link is right down below. I'll be curious to see what happens here. I mean, I think for Dan, part of what's going on here too, first of all, Dan's right. So there's that. Like, Colorado hasn't done anything. They've had one, I think, 10-win season, in the last 20 years. So they've not been good in football. They've not been good in many sports, generally speaking, that are on TV. They are kind of an island away from the rest of the Pac-12. They feel, I'm sure, like they fit better in the Big 12, and I wonder if they thought, pretty quick that they didn't make the right decision moving over there. But why the SEC is so strong, why the Big 10 is so strong is not only do you have huge brands, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, LSU, the Gators, teams like that. And I would argue the Big 10 does not have as many strong brands as the SEC does. You also have in place, because of those brands, you have an agreement with media companies that pays significantly. And so and therefore, because of that, I mean, it always goes A, B, C. You have the brands, you have that, then you get the deal, and then that leads to stability. All of those things are why, Georgia doesn't have to worry about, should we be going to the Big 12? Or, Florida's not thinking, oh man, is the Big 10 right for us? They don't have to think about that. They've already got what they need. Everybody else in the country is not in that position. And I really mean that. And I'm including the Big 12 in this. If you're Colorado, you'd far rather be in the Big 10. Why? Because your old buddy Nebraska's over there. First of all. Secondly, the money. Well, first of all, the money. Secondly, Nebraska. And, you're already playing SC and UCLA. So you'd kind of just get going right there. You'd have your natural schedule sort of built in. Those three schools would be near you. Wisconsin can't be that much further away from Minnesota, and Wisconsin cannot be that much further away from Colorado than Oregon and Oregon State and Washington State. So, or even SC and UCLA, but I digress, or Arizona State and Colorado are probably not that far from each other in the grand scheme of things. But if you're all those schools, you're really worried. You're really worried about your position. If Oregon and UW are both really in a jumpy spot right now. They are, I would say Oregon's the bigger brand right now, but UW is certainly a big brand. They've both been to the playoff. They are in perilous situations. They're not being they're not being attracted by anybody else. Them going to the ACC would be total lunacy. Them going to the Big 12 has not been mentioned in any way. Nor do I think that would make any sense. Not that the Big 10 makes much sense for them. They need a Pac-12. That's what those schools need. So when Colorado leaves to go to the Big 12, it really screws up the, world out there. It's just something that Georgia is very fortunate they don't have to deal with and have not had to and wouldn't any time in the future. I mean, could you imagine a world where Georgia is going to play at Purdue? I mean, I can. They play at Missouri and it's miserable. So it's just, I legitimately have nothing against Missouri with the exception of its location. And it just does not belong in the league, but they're there. And, the league is expanded westward now 3 times, Arkansas, Texas A&M in Missouri, and now Texas and Oklahoma. So the SEC has cannibalized the old Southwest Conference and some of the Big 8. And I think that Georgia going to Missouri is as ridiculous as, or South Carolina going to them, or Florida, is as ridiculous as UW and Oregon going to play at Rutgers. But it happens nonetheless. The problem with that last statement is that's not what's in the world of possibility right now for Colorado, for UW and Oregon. Colorado's gone. This is their last season of the Pac-12, and for the record, I love the Pac-12, but I also know that those schools will be out there. So whether it's the Pac-12 at dark or the Big Ten at dark, I'll still be watching those games. But it is going to be it is a jumpy situation for those West Coast schools, the power West Coast schools, SC, UCLA, UW, and Oregon. Two of them have left, and now I think the other two are just sort of stuck, and they're watching Colorado. Colorado now, like, I mean, that's like the equivalent. I don't want to say Mississippi State, but it's something. I wonder in the last 15 years who'd have won more games head up against each other. I would say almost certainly Mississippi State against Colorado. But, Colorado's won a national championship, or at least half of one in the last 30 years. And Mississippi State hasn't. If that's what matters at all, it's not. But you get my point. And I see why Dan is kind of chippy about this.